easing back into old routines. Only now, with extra care. Let's do it for ourselves, for our loved ones, for everyone's safety.
Hurry up, let's go. Let's go.
And staying safe starts at home.
Nice.
From how we work and learn, to the little ways we find joy. If you must head out, take extra care. Making a small effort, being mindful, they go a long way to keeping us all safe. The health of all depends on each one of us. So let's work together, using new tools and keeping to our new habits to protect the people we love. At work, let's all be good team players.
Hi, morning. How are you? Good.
A little distance between us today will be good for us all tomorrow. A little care can protect the one thing that means the world to us. So let's do our part.
The views and opinions expressed by the speaker, host, commentator, or other third party in Ariva webinars, e-learning events, and/or virtual masterclass are those of the speaker, host, commentator, or third party and do not necessarily reflect and represent the views and opinions of Ariva. Furthermore, Ariva does not warrant, express, or imply the merchantability and fitness for a particular purpose of any product information, service, or process presented by the speaker, host, commentator, or third party, and Ariva specifically disclaims any legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, completeness, or usefulness of any product information, service, or process presented. Finally, material or information presentation, opinion, process, or service by, on any trade name, trademark, manufacturer, or otherwise during Ariva webinars, e-learning events, and/or virtual masterclass do not constitute or imply Ariva's endorsement or recommendation of such opinion, process, service, item, or organization.
everyone. Welcome to Ariva Academy's The Value of Mid-Level Management. How to empower middle management to drive organizational success. I'm Kate and I will be with you throughout this webinar as your host, and I am also going to be learning with everyone as we listen to our speaker. Now, I know you're all eager to get to know her, but I have some reminders to make sure that this webinar will run smoothly. Ariva is committed to protecting your privacy, hence stricter security of this webinar has been implemented. So for better viewing of your Zoom experience, we encourage you to please update your Zoom application by visiting their website. And for those of you who are using their mobile gadgets to view this webinar, you can go to either the Google Play Store or the Apple Store so you can download and install the Zoom app. Now, I want to know who here is joining an Ariva Academy webinar for the first time. If it's your first time, can you type hi here in the chat box? Also, let us know where you're located right now. Let us know. Anyone who's from the province, we'd love to welcome you. Especially, we have a lot of friends who are watching us all the way from Abra, from Agusan del Norte, from Aklan, from Baguio, from Bataan, from Batangas, from Bicol, from Cebu, from a city of Sorsogon. We have friends who are from Davao, from Jensan, from Ilocos Sur, from Iloilo, from Isabela, from Leyte, from Nueva Ecija, from Pampanga, Pangasinan, all the way to Tarlac, Zamboales, and Zamboanga. And we have friends who are viewing us outside of Philippines. We have participants who are from Doha, Qatar, and from Thailand. So, hello, Philippines, and hello, world. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Ariva Academy. For those of you who've attended in the past, welcome back. We are very happy to have you here again with us this afternoon. Now, I want to make sure that once our speaker is on screen, you will be able to hear her discussion loud and clear. Please type 111 here in the chat box if you're able to hear me clearly. Type 111. You can also type 222 if you can't hear anything, or type 2121 if you can hear me, but the sound is breaking up or I sound choppy or laggy. You can also type question mark if you don't understand what is happening. We'll try to help you out. Okay, I am seeing a lot of 111s so far. Thank you so much for your feedback. Now, later we'll have a 10-minute break and we'll be announcing that. Okay, so we also have a special guest coming in during our break time. So watch out for that. For participants who would like to ask a question, we would be temporarily disabling your microphone to avoid interruption, okay? But during the Q&A portion, you can click the raise hand button will allow you to ask your question directly to our speaker. Or you can also type your questions here in the chat box. And then during the Q&A portion, I will be reading them so that our speaker can answer them. Now, an e-certificate of attendance will be awarded to participants who will successfully complete the entire virtual masterclass, and they will be available 3 to 5 days after the e-learning session. Please help us build and improve our service with your comments and feedback. You can scan this QR code that will bring you to the feedback form. At the end of our session, please fill out the form and then send it back to us. There you go. I'm sure you're all excited to get to know her, so let me introduce our speaker. Today's speaker helps managers be productive, profitable, and promotable. She's obsessed with boosting productive and self-leadership that ensures people reach their potential. She positively impacts your results, confidence, and effectiveness. She's awarded the 2020 Breakthrough Speaker of the Year by Professional Speakers Australia, 2019 finalist for Australian Learning Professionals of the Year, Bronze Stevie International Business Award. She's also the winning champion sole trader in the 2019 Australian Small Business Champion Awards, and was named as one of the 25 LinkedIn top voices for Australia for 2018 for her thought leadership. She has authored multiple books. Her book, The Productive Leader, received an endorsement from the renowned global personal development guru Brian Tracy. Blending 20 plus years of working with a diverse range of people and industries in Germany, the Middle East, and across Australia, and now the Philippines. She has extensive qualifications, a wicked sense of humor, and an ability to make people feel at ease. She is your first choice for mastering skills, inspiring action, and achieving results. Everyone, let us welcome our speaker, the very beautiful Sally Foley-Lewis.
Oh, Miss Kate, Miss Kate. Wow, thank you so very much for that absolutely amazing warm welcome. And I'd love it if, Sir Eric, if you can pin me, and if you're able to control your view, it'd be much better if you put me in speaker view. That's not because I have a big ego. It's so that you can see what I put up on the screen. Thank you, Miss Kate. Thank you so much for welcoming me into the Philippines and beyond. And it's such an amazing list of countries. So I'm just so delighted that we have over 430 people here with us right now. How cool is that?
Exciting.
Thank you so much. So before we start, I have to say I'm a little bit obsessed, a lot obsessed with job titles, particularly for middle managers. So would you please help me with my obsession? And could you please type into the chat box what your actual job title is? And could you write yes or no next to that as to whether you think or you are a middle manager, or you see yourself as a middle manager? So you might type shift supervisor, yes. Or you might type oh, gee, what's something? Oh, creative artist. No, and that's okay. I'm really just curious as to what your job title is and if you are a middle manager or not. Thank you so much. Oh, here they all come. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you're going to keep me busy for hours. I so appreciate you. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. So one of the things, while you're typing into the chat box, please let me just assure you that I am absolutely present and with you, but I am looking at multiple screens at the moment. So if I'm not looking at you with my eye contact, please know I'm still present and with you. And I'm just trying to make all the magic happen. So I'm so excited to be with you. Wow. We've got safety officers, we've got human resources officers, we've got network officers, coordinators, logistics, customer relations. We've got some that are middle managers and some that are not middle managers. This is just amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am going to download that chat and really dive into that because I'm fascinated, because middle management's this weird bit in the middle, isn't it? Where does it start and where does it finish? And for every organization, it can differ. But one of the things I know, and whether you're in a middle management position or not, I know that you'll relate to some of this. Do you often feel as though you're the meat in the sandwich, that you're squished, pulled in multiple directions? You're overworked, maybe even possibly overwhelmed. Yeah. Are you on the verge of burnout, or sometimes you feel like you're on the verge of burnout? If that's you, then I totally get it. You know, maybe you might be a little bit like this guy, where you've got so many people demanding your attention, wanting something from you, wanting you to do something, that you freeze. And you don't get to do what you set out to do because you don't even know where to start or stop, or who's the most important priority. Does this sort of resonate with you a little bit? Is this making sense? Yeah. You know, despite being surrounded by so many people, one of the things I know for sure is having all this pressure from above and below, you can still feel really isolated. and being constantly in the role of putting out fires. You're always reacting. Maybe you need to get yourself a fireman's hat and that hose so you can put out all the fires. Yeah. And not being as strategic or proactive as you want to be. Let me know, do you relate to any of this? Can I just have a quick yes or no in the chat box if this is relating and this makes sense to you as a middle manager or even in your role? Yes, thanks, Ariane. Yuban, yes. We're getting all the yeses. Yeah, I hear you. So just so you know, I often felt that too when I was a middle manager. So I've been in middle management and I get it. I absolutely get it. Some days my head was spinning so much I didn't know which way was up or down. So I would love for us to, I want to hear from you more. And so I would love for us to describe what that's actually like. And so we're going to head over to Mentimeter now. And I'd love to get you to share with me, and you can jump on there into to get the code. It's menti.com, and then you put in 2348765. Or if you've got a QR code camera, a camera handy, you can click on the QR code. And it's 3 words to describe what it's like to be a manager. 3 words to describe what it's like to be a manager. I'd love to know. Inspiring, fulfilling, and enriching. That's fantastic. After all those challenges, it's still something positive. I love that. It's okay to be honest as well. I'd like people to tell me, it doesn't have to always be the positive stuff. You can share the real rich, raw stuff too. And that's really kind of okay. Good follower, fulfilling, motivating, enriching, coaching, inspiring, motivating, control. Yeah. These are all positive. This is great. Love it. So the menti.com, and you can use the code 2348765. This is fantastic. Tug of war. Oh, yes. Yes. That's a really, really good descriptor. Bullet taker. Oh, my stars, bullet taker. I absolutely feel that one. Yes, you feel like you're the protector of your subordinates. Absolutely. Okay, this thing's moving so fast. I've got to be quicker. Rant absorber. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, that's not brilliant, but you know what I mean. It's a great description. What else have we got? Overwhelming at times. You feel sandwiched. Yes. You have to be versatile. You're the conflict resolution person. Do you feel like sometimes you leave your children and then you go to work and you have to be the people at work, you're their parent, and you have to nurture and you have to referee and you have to sort out their arguments and you have to listen and you've got to solve their problems? Yeah, definitely. Stressed. Yes. What else have we got in here? Responsible. Yes, definitely. Compassionate. This is a great mix. I love this. I love this. All right. What we'll do is we'll just do a few more and then we will move on because we've only got a short amount of time together. Thank you so much for, I'll leave that open for a little bit longer if you want, but let's also head back over to the session. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. And there's a real mix in there, which is really good to see. So in this session, I'm going to share with you 2 fundamental drivers that help you to be the best version of yourself, the leader you can be. And we'll also cover 3 ways that you can positively amplify your leadership. And we'll work through all of these together so that you can see just how much value you bring to your role. And as we progress, I'll ask you to think how these drivers and these actions apply to you and for you, so that when you come to the end, you have a sense of yourself as the leader who is cool, calm, confident, and in control. Would that feel all right with you? Would that be okay? Yeah, I'm going to assume you're all nodding right now. So our first driver, let's not waste any time and let's jump in. Our first driver is fundamental. It is absolutely critical for yourself, for your leadership, for your life, for the people you love and the people around you, the people you care about. And I know you know what it is. And as soon as I say it, you'll say, of course it is. And it is our values, right? Yeah. When was the last time you thought about your values? Yeah. So I want to share with you, when I was 15, I was assaulted by a police officer. And when that happened, I was actually witnessed by another police officer. And when I went to that witnessing police officer to ask for some help, I was brushed off with them saying, oh, you're okay. And in that moment, I felt helpless. I was disappointed. And then that really quickly quite turned to a bit of outrage. I was a little bit angry, and that outrage planted a seed of a value for me. And that value was zero tolerance. It was planted in me right then and there in that experience when I was a 15-year-old. That officer, that witnessing officer, abused her power in order to protect herself and her colleague, all while wearing a uniform that represented to protect and serve the community. What values were they working in from that experience? Fast forward a dozen years and I'm in my very first job. I'm fresh out of university, so I was so green and so new. It was the beginning of my professional career. I was starting at the bottom of the ladder because I was the most junior. And back then, in those days, when you were the most junior, you did the most menial tasks. And I thought, that's okay. That's how you learn. That's how you grow in the company. One of those tasks was to do the ordering of supplies for the entire department. I was the signatory, so I had to actually sign an order form. I actually had to write an order, date it, and sign it. So yes, written and with carbon copy. So I've just carbon dated myself, I understand. And so if you don't know what carbon copy is, then it's kind of, think about old school copy and paste without the computer. So you write on one page and it puts an ink impression on the page below. So think about that. In that role, I would fill in the order form, I'd sign it, date it, and send it off for our suppliers to arrive a few days later. It was like old school online shopping. Some days it was pretty fun. Now, I was just back from some annual leave. And it was time to pull together a new supplies order. So I was flipping through the order book looking for the next fresh page when I stopped at the last order copy page. I looked at it and I thought, this is a bit interesting, this is a bit different. And the writing was not my handwriting. And then I looked at the date and it was while I was on leave. And then as my eyes scrolled down to the bottom of the page, my stomach churned and clenched and my heart sank because I realized right in that moment, and I blurted out, someone's forged my signature. And I just so happened that I was facing my boss when I blurted that out. So she tilted her head, raised her eyebrow, and flippantly responded, it was only for a bottle of milk. I was speechless. If she can forge a signature for a bottle of milk, what else is she going to do? What else is she prepared to do? In that moment, zero tolerance. I didn't feel safe. This was not the place for me. And fast forward to today. And this value of zero tolerance helps me to guide my clients into being the best leaders they can possibly be. It sits neatly with my other values of service and leadership and lifelong learning. That's why I get to work in my purpose. I get to deliver keynote speeches. I get to also go into organizations and develop the leadership of middle managers. But we're here talking about values, right, to start with. And let's look at especially a leadership value in action. And one of the best examples I can share with you was during the American presidential campaign, when Barack Obama, a Democrat, was running against John McCain, a Republican. Now, in the audience at a McCain rally, a woman calls out, You know, Obama is not even American. He's an Arab. So how was my American accent right then? Just checking. Was it really bad? Should I not do an American accent? Please tell me. People tell me my American accent's really bad, so I won't do it again, all right? It's okay. You can laugh as well. I'm okay if you laugh at me. So thank you for the love, huh? All right. So this woman calls out, you know, Obama is not even an American. He's an Arab. Now, McCain really, he could have leveraged that so easily for his own political point scoring. He really could have gone hard on promoting that for his own campaign to gain favor with the audience, especially as so many of them were shouting, he's not American. He could have easily gone with the crowd, we want Americans only, but he didn't. He looked at the woman and he said, no, ma'am. Obama is a decent family man. He's a citizen like you and me. He's a good man. He's an American. What he said right there in that moment became one of the key things he was remembered for: honesty. His own party prided him for that. Even his opponents respected him for this. He said what he said because it was far more important than himself. He said what he said because of his value of honesty. Now, these life experiences, they affirm values. They've helped me be steady in the face of wrongdoing, challenges, crisis, and change. They keep me strong and they give me integrity. Your values do the same for you. My values help me to stand up for what I believe in, to tell truth to power, to serve others to the best of my ability. And your values, they will keep you grounded. They are so important as they show the world what you stand for. So what are your values? What is it that you stand for? What's your non-negotiable? What is it that keeps you strong, keeps you grounded, keeps you on course and in your purpose? It's critical that you be really connected to your values. I'd love for you to just take a moment now to think about what your values are. And I'd love it even more if you'd share one or two of your values in the chat box. I'd love integrity. Yes, thank you. Lots of integrity. Okay, integrity is the top value of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Love that, love that. Honesty. Okay, we're getting a bit of a mix. Commitment, honesty, humility, teamwork. Oh, these are fantastic. Integrity, loyalty, excellence. Yes, dedication. Choose kindness. Yes. Here's the thing when it comes to your values. A lot of people kind of feel a bit icky if they were to say success and money and be famous. They're okay. You're allowed to have those values too. They're your values. They are a guiding light to you. And the next thing that we talk about helps you work out how to get there. Oh, we've got lots of integrity. Thank you so much. Compassion, self-control. Yes, these are great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Just for the interest of time, I'm going to keep going, but feel free to keep popping your values into the chat box. So, you know, we look at values and they tell us what we stand for. They are what you stand for, your values. But if we flip it and we say, and we start looking back over our career and we look at what we've created, maybe asking yourself what you've left behind, what you've done. This is obviously what's called our legacy. Our legacy is what you'll be remembered for. It's what you stood for. Yeah. It's about showing the way of what you've done. So values are what you stand for. Your legacy is what you stood for. So one of the best ways to look at legacy is to actually jump in and look at some examples. And so I love this one with Greta Thunberg. She, what an amazing young lady, a Swedish teenager who totally persuaded her parents to adopt lifestyle choices that reduced their own carbon footprint. You probably are aware of the school strike for climate that she started. In Australia, it was crazy big. She's also known for challenging world leaders to take immediate climate action mitigation. But you know what else she'll have a legacy of? Activism. She will be known as being such a powerful force and a demonstrator to young people everywhere for activism. Yeah. Now, this next person I chose is, obviously because he's an amazing actor and a Hollywood producer, it's got nothing to do with how he looks at all. I'm just a little bit smitten with Matthew McConaughey. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, he's an American actor and producer. He's been in so many movies: Dazed and Confused, A Time to Kill, The Dallas Buyers Club, Lincoln Lawyer, just to name a few. He's quite well known for the catchphrase that he actually said in an early movie, Dazed and Confused, "A rider, rider, ride." So if that sort of rings a bell for you, yeah? Now, here's a celebrity who's actually used that celebrity, that fame, to create a legacy. He was born in a small town in Texas, and he gave an emotional speech to the White House about gun control. After that tragic shooting in his hometown, he spent time with the families of the victims, and he asked the politicians to make the loss of these lives matter. So he used that his celebrity as his legacy. Yeah. Now let's move on to someone else who has recently passed, Queen Elizabeth II. After the death of her father, King George VI, she took to the crown and she swore that she would be in service for her life. She made that promise to be in service to the Commonwealth and to the people that she reigned over. And she was, until the day she passed. She's Britain's longest running monarch to date. And her legacy is that, yes, she may have made changes to the monarchy to sort of modernize it to some degree, but her greatest legacy is steadiness, reassurance. And I'd say she's done that because she was in the job for 70 years. Have you been in your job for 70? And I'm saying 70 years. It's huge, isn't it? What amazing legacy that she could bring. Now, I've talked about famous people. They've all been on the front cover of magazines, newspapers. They've been talked about on TV. Now, I want to talk about someone who's even more famous in the Philippines. And you may or may not know who he is, but he is an absolute famous person when we come to talk about Ariva Academy. All right, we're talking about JM here, and he's the chairman and the chief strategist for Ariva Academy in Philippines. And he is his approach to what he's doing in this world of learning and development is amazing. And his legacy is that he wants to be known as someone who's been instrumental in providing quality learning with the help of Ariva partners and speakers. But he wants everyone to have an opportunity for continuous learning with very minimum price investment. So it's about affordable lifelong learning. And I love that. That to me just resonates and sings for me as JM's legacy. He's a firm believer that every day is a learning process, and he will continue to do that for as long as he can. So it doesn't have to be a famous person that you look to about learning about legacy. They're all around us. Yeah, they're absolutely all around us. But over to you. What about your legacy? Now, I want you to imagine you've been promoted, or it's time to move to a different part of the organization, or you're leaving the organization, but either way, you'll never be forgotten. Okay? What did you create? What did you do as part of your legacy? What do you want to be known for? In the last 12 months, I've been working with two leaders, and this blows my mind because this was so coincidental that both of them, and they work at different companies and actually are in two different countries, but both of them said when we talked about legacy, pretty much the exact same thing. So they both said that they wanted to transform their departments into centers of excellence. They both said that when it's time for them to move to the next role, they will have created with their team, with the people around them, but they led the charge of creating centers of excellence. So your legacy, it's to be known for what you stood for. That and really, once you understand what it is you want to create, what you want to be known for, that work has to start today. You can't start it on the day you leave. It's too late. It starts today. Yeah. So we've looked at values, what you stand for, and we looked at legacy just now and what you stood for. So looking what you've created, and these are like being states. They're your drivers. So now let's look at those 3 doing states, the 3 ways to amplify your value as a leader. And the first one is awareness. And so when we talk about awareness, I'm talking about our deep understanding of ourselves. What it's so easy to get trapped in the busyness of your day that you sometimes don't know who you are or, what you're doing or where you are. You're so busy getting on with doing what you've got to do. It's just go, go, go. And it can be relentless. It can be like being stuck on a hamster wheel. And think about the cost of staying on the hamster wheel, of not having and bringing deeper awareness to what's going on for yourself. And especially what impact that would have on your leadership of your team, let alone your physical and mental well-being and your happiness. Yeah. So awareness is critical. I want to give you some examples. So during a middle manager leadership development program, I was working with Beatrice. She's an absolute star performer. As a middle manager, she and her team exceed their objectives and key results consistently. And to get that, though, she works long hours. And when challenged to delegate, she often responds with, "It's just quicker or easier if I do it myself." Have you caught yourself saying that as well? When it comes to delegation, have you often said, "Oh, look, it's just quicker if I do it myself"? That's a real common one, right? I actually can feel you nodding along right now and agreeing with me. Yeah. No, Beatrice sees her approach to this and her actions as being, yeah, thank you. I've seen the yeses in the chat box. Beatrice thinks that if she just does it herself, she's being helpful. And so when she sees her team, she sees that everyone's busy, right? How can I ask them? They're all busy. The problem is Beatrice doesn't realize she's on the cusp of burnout. She's exhausted and is getting a bit of a reputation because her team see her as a micromanager. So with self-awareness, she's able to then appreciate that you can't do everything. That's just stress piling and making it tougher and tougher and tougher for yourself. And so when we unpack this even more and we dive into what it means for Beatrice, it was about having enough trust in herself and in her team to know when to let go. Beatrice learned to delegate properly, and now she hits her targets with far less stress and less long hours. In another leadership program I facilitated, I met Dave, and Dave shared with me that his company was going through an acquisition. The team were anxious and they were gossiping and they were complaining. And Dave really cares about his team, and he also had a lot of sympathy for what was going on. So he spent his time listening because he thought, I'm a leader, I have to listen. But he found himself being pulled into agreeing with the complaints. He ended up becoming more of a friend, and he didn't really realize this. And so while that's not necessarily in itself a bad thing, he actually lost a lot of power in his leadership, and he lost a lot of power to influence because unfortunately he joined the gossip grapevine and the complainers corridor. His influence dropped. So he then struggled to keep everyone on course and to turn it around and to turn the sentiment and the culture around. So of course, David's concern for, the situation is normal. His feelings were absolutely valid as well. He was concerned about the acquisition. However, with greater self-awareness, particularly of his emotions, he was able to then pick up on what was going on in the emotions of everyone else. When we have greater self-awareness, especially in emotional intelligence, he could regulate his emotions and remain the voice of calm, the voice and tone and message that the team needed to hear from him. And the last example I want to share with you around this awareness is during another middle managers leadership development program, I got a real clear inside view into Sharon's world. Sharon's a leader, and she's this type of leader that's across everything. She's fully present for absolutely everything. She's in and out of meetings all day, every day. She's always available for her team. Her colleagues and executives, no one is waiting, no one is held up. She gets everything done. When you look at her, you think she's got this weird magic ability to just be everywhere for everyone. She's like a real superwoman. However, when you sort of pull back the curtain a little bit, the problem is she is stretched too thin. She doesn't have space to think. And her leadership and her decisions are being sacrificed to putting out fires all the time rather than doing any big picture work. She doesn't have time to do the strategic thinking or the strategic leading. So when it comes to self-awareness for Sharon, it was all about recognizing when she needed to stop, to set some boundaries, and to know what she needed to do in order to be her most productive. So it was very simple for Sharon. It was actually blocking some time off in her calendar. It's really interesting. I could give you hundreds of these examples, but the key point is that with awareness comes a positive impact. When you become more aware of yourself and aware of your actions and explore how they may or may not match your intention, you get to make powerful changes. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation like a little disagreement or a bit of conflict? There's been a little bit of confusion. It got a little messy. And in trying to sort it out with the other person, they said, that's not what I was trying to do. Really big misunderstanding that had gone on. Yeah. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? Yeah. What that is, that's actions not quite matching a good intention. Yeah. And this happens to busy, stressed, well-intended leaders who have very little time to think and reflect and make more aligned actions. So when you're super busy and you got too many things happening at once, and you are more prone to making the quickest and easiest decision that first appears. And that's only natural because it's the one that appears that appeals the most. However, that may not actually have the best outcome. When you have greater awareness, you get to slow down just that little bit. And it's a little bit, but it is enough to ensure that you can match your actions with your intentions. And so with greater awareness, you can see the impact that you have and can make. With greater awareness, you can make more powerful and positive changes and choices. Just like Beatrice and learning to delegate, like Dave and reading the situation, reading himself, and then reading the team so he could powerfully lead and influence them. And like Sharon, who identified and set boundaries and blocking off some you time, some personal time for thinking in her calendar. So your self-awareness is really critical. Any activity that you do that helps you to reflect on who you are and how you're showing up in this world is so critical. And asking for feedback is one of the easiest and fastest ways to do that. So awareness, that's an inward action, yeah? Now, let's shift it up a bit towards an outward action. This is the second one. Can you guess what it is? I'd love for you to have a guess what you think the outward action would be. If you can type it in the chat box, I'd love. Have a guess. If the awareness is internal, what would be an outward action as a comparison? Olivia says just yesterday. I assume you got feedback yesterday, maybe. Can anyone guess what the outward action would be? I know you're going to know it. Yeah. I'll just give a few more seconds. You know this. I know you know this. You as a leader, you do this every day. You as a human, you do this every day. I'm teasing you now. The right decisions? Do you make the right decisions every day? Oh, you're lucky. I don't always make the right decisions. Oh, Mary, you're getting close. Praying, yes, praying could be absolutely something that we do every day, but I'm being more general, okay? I would encourage everyone to scroll up and have a look at Mary's response if you want a little help. We've got some great suggestions. Absolutely. Listening is actually a part of this. Talking to others, coaching, no, not quite, but yeah, it involves some of this. Communication, there we go. Here it comes. Yes. See, I knew you knew it. I knew you knew it. Absolutely. Cool. So communication is obviously the vehicle to inform people, but it's more than that. This is the outward action, okay, that you get to amplify or otherwise your leadership. But when we talk about communication and informing people, let's drill it down a little bit further. To me, this is actually goes deeper, and it's really talking about how you express yourself. Now, is it fair to say that as managers and as employees and leaders, we see a lot of our communication as simply informing? Yeah. Does that relate to you? You've got to, I'm informing my direct reports. I'm informing my colleagues. I'm informing my bosses. It's all about an information transaction. Yeah. Does that resonate to you and with you? Yeah. So here's the thing though. It's not actually informing. Yeah. You're never really just informing. You may be giving information, but to me, I like to think of it as you're actually inspiring, collaborating, or influencing. With Gallup's employee engagement study scaring us with terrible employee engagement stats as low as the mid-20s in 20%, and communication being consistently year on year, study after study, as being in the top 5 skills that leaders must have, how you express yourself is as critical today as it has ever been. So anytime you have to deliver a message, you need to ask yourself, who is my audience and what is my purpose? What is the purpose of expressing myself to this person or this group? And I believe there are 3 distinct directions when you're a middle manager, when it comes to expressing yourself. Your team look to you for inspiration. It's what gets them engaged. Your expression down is to inspire. Your colleagues, your peers, people in your team, your management team, it can often feel like they're your competition for resources. But if you flip this and you see them as collaborators, it opens you up and them up for greater mutual support, access to resources, faster problem solving, more innovation and creativity, and actually less stress. They become your support system. And then the other element to this, the third part of it, is that you as a middle manager are perfectly positioned like no one else in the organization. And I literally mean like no one else, to see what's happening at the operational levels of the organization and be able to use that information to influence upwards so that really key decisions are made with the best information at hand. Your executives need your influence. Yeah. Years ago, I worked for a lady called Lyndall, and she is today, this is over 20 years ago, and still today, she's one of my nearest and dearest friends. She was an amazing boss. When she brought me in to work for her, she gave me a project. She spent good quality time, explaining her expectations, telling me that she trusted me, showing me what she was wanting to achieve with this project. She was giving me the why. She was inspiring me with her belief in me because of my experiences that I could do the project well. She additionally then said, I want you to go away. I want you to really dive into it, learn all about it. And then when you come back to me, I want you to tell me what you want me to do next as your leader, because she knew she had the authority to take actions. So not only did she inspire me to really own the work and be engaged in it, she actually demanded that I influence her. So she was an amazing boss. Yeah. So take a moment and consider how you express yourself. Start with inspiration. Yeah. Imagine how much more engagement you could get from your reports if you took a moment to consider who they are, the deeper purpose of your message, and expressed it through inspiration. Got them excited about the why. Yeah. If you were a direct report receiving an inspired message, what would that feel like for you? Yeah. Really quite valuable. Yeah. So to this point, we've identified your values as grounding you in what you stand for, your legacy as guiding you to bring to life what you stood for. We've covered the inner work of self-awareness and how without it, your leadership, despite good intentions, may miss the mark. And then the outer work of expressing yourself, inspiring and collaborating and influencing. So before we bring it home with the third element, are there any quick questions that we need to cover just now? Just for a couple of minutes, any quick questions before I go to the next step? I'd love to know. Miss Kate, is there anything that's a question that I can answer right now before we go to the next bit?
Right now, from our live audience, we don't have any questions yet.
Okay. All right, that's great. All right, so let's move on. So did you know that according to Culture Amp, that a lack of opportunities for growth accounts for 37.1% of employee departures? And research by Gallup found that 59% of millennials say that they find development opportunities extremely important when deciding whether to apply for a position. And then another piece of work that Culture Amp did showed that employees who don't feel they have access to L&D are 2 times more likely to leave a job within the next 12 months. So if you think about those statistics and the impact that development has, one of the things that's really important to realize is that development uplifts. It uplifts your people. Yeah. So this is our last part, uplift. And I wanted to ask you if you've seen the movie Coach Carter. If you have, it's a bit dated now, but it is still, to me, it's a classic movie. And the film is based on the true story of a Richmond High School basketball coach, Ken Carter. And in the movie, it's played by Samuel L. Jackson. Now, Coach Carter made headlines in 1999 for suspending his undefeated high school basketball team due to poor academic results. Now, Richmond, California is a bit of a rough area. The kids are often into guns and drugs and crime. They don't see education as important. They make a living off the streets, or the kids that were in the school, basketball was their life. Parents would even say basketball is the only thing these boys have got. A lot of the parents were just hoping and praying that their sons got talent spotted. Their focus was not on their education. It was on the fast way out with basketball. Now, Coach Carter uplifted them in his own unique way and focused on education. But even the educators, he's a basketball coach, but even the educators were against him and his belief in the potential of the boys. He called the boys sir. He commanded that they have respect for each other, for him, and for themselves. On game days, the boys had to wear a shirt and tie and a jacket or they didn't play. He brought in lots of discipline around the game of basketball as a way of building self-respect. That school district that Richmond High was in only asked for a grade point average of 2.0. But Coach Carter asked the players and their parents to sign a personal contract that the boys would get a grade point average of 2.3, so 0.3 more in order to play. The contract actually had 10 points in it, 10 points, of which only one was about basketball and the other 9 were all academic. Now, I'm going to show you a clip in a moment around the impact of Coach Carter. And it's only a snippet out of a documentary. But when Coach Carter put that contract out and asked the kids to sign it and their parents to sign it, yes, some of the boys walked away. They didn't sign it and they didn't play. But there was pushback. But he stuck to his absolute knowing that basketball was the only vehicle that uplifted the boys. Have a look at this clip now that shows you where those boys are and where they were still young, but where they were going because of Coach Carter. Thank you, Sir Eric.
Too much alike.
The 5 young men sitting at this table here, they are the reason that we are here, to celebrate their success.
I am now at Occidental College in Los Angeles, and after I graduate, I'm gonna go to medical school and become a cardiologist.
Right now I'm at Cal, and after that I wanna go to medical school and practice optometry.
I play for ABA team, American Basketball Association, team called the Las Vegas Rattlers.
I got an associate's degree in business. I'm moved on to University of New Orleans. I'm majoring in hotel, restaurants, and tourism.
I'm currently going to Humboldt State. I'm transferring to San Francisco State. I'm going to get my degree in sociology.
1, 2, 3. I'm gonna test you guys' memory at this time. Oh Lord, we're gonna start off in Candy. We're gonna start off in Candy and run motion.
These boys that you hear about, Courtney Anderson, Wayne Oliver, Chris Gibson, Damian Carter, Marvin Miranda. When you hear these kids' names being mentioned in Richmond, you're going to see them on city council seats. You're going to see them as doctors. You're going to see them as lawyers. And you know what? In the beginning of all this, sir, people would say, Coach, you shouldn't set those type of expectations for those kids because they're going to fail. 5 years later, I'm able to say, you know what? All of them are succeeding. And that's a very good thing.
Thank you, Sir Eric. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Who was the Coach Carter in your life? The teacher, the boss, the mentor, the parent, the guardian, whoever that was, who was your Coach Carter? Who saw your potential and uplifted you? Who showed you your potential and your value? And how did they do that for you? When I first started my business, I had a mentor and I was struggling. I was really struggling and I had a real dip in confidence and I didn't know what I was doing or where to go. And this mentor said to me, Sally, right now, for this little bit of period of time, I'm going to hold the belief and you're going to do the work. Because when you've done the work, you're going to take the belief back. I will never forget that. That was someone who saw the potential in me. And so she held up a structure for me, like Coach Carter with basketball and discipline and academics. Yeah. Now, what if you could be a Coach Carter to others? Think about who needs uplifting in your team. And don't overthink this. We're almost at the end here, but I want to give you a couple of tips here. Don't overthink how to do this. It can be really easy. And it could be as easy as saying what the potential is that you see in that person. It could be saying hello and asking how they are, but being really 100% present when you do it, because we all know there's plenty of distractions. What about gifting them a book that you've read that had a powerful message for you? Mentoring them, inviting them to shadow you so they can learn and grow. putting them through some training or development that you can actually get them into. These are the things that you can do, and you don't need anyone else to do them. And when they come from you, the value that person or your team will feel will be repaid. They will step up, they will go the extra mile, and they will be more engaged. And research has proven more engaged is less costs, less turnover, and more productive. It's time that we all were a bit of a Coach Carter. So let's bring this home. Let's see you in a new light. We've covered how your values will ground you. Your legacy will show you the way. Your leadership is amplified through your awareness, matching your purpose and your audience to how you express yourself by uplifting others. Before my final words, I want to jump over very quickly now. Let's go over back to Mentimeter and take a moment to think about what we've covered and share 3 words that you would describe this kind of manager who has all these elements. So the menti.com, and it's the same code as before, 23 48 76 5. We'll just do a little bit of word cloud with this, and then I'll have final words, and then we go to the break. Is that okay if we do that? So thinking about what we've just covered, what 3 words would you use to describe this kind of manager? Who you would be? Inspiring, empathetic, respectful. Passionate. Yes. As there's nothing worse than working for someone who doesn't care, monotone, doesn't mind what you do. Where's the inspiration in that? Trustworthy, dedicated, friend, kind, motivational, pusher in a good way. Yeah, so they challenge you in the right way. I love that. Yeah. Gold digger. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. Dedicated, inspiration. Okay, I need to flip myself upside down sometimes. Good example, good leader, effective manager, good listener, mentor, caring, uplifting. Great words. Oh, I love this. Yes. Far more positive, would you say? Yeah, this is a brilliant list. I'm going to leave that open so you can keep adding to it if you like, but we'll come back here because I just want to close off with just a couple of words to round out this session before we go to the break. And that is, when you are grounded in your values, you know what you stand for. And when you are clear about how and what you want to be known for, you can stay the course and you can achieve your legacy as a leader. And then the more self-aware you are, the better you can lead. The more you can purposefully inspire, collaborate, and influence, the clearer and the more confident you'll be in expressing yourself. And when you take every moment, big or small, to uplift others, these all come together as you being a middle manager who's perfectly positioned with so much value to give. Back to you. Thanks, Miss Kate.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Sally. So we'll be back to you in a little while. So we're going to go on our break. Thank you so much for that, Sally. Okay, everyone, we're going on a 10-minute break this time. I've mentioned a while ago that we have a special guest, but for now, I have some announcements to make. So let me just start sharing my screen. Don't worry, guys. We will still be back with Sally in a little while. So just after our break, we'll be bringing her back. Here goes. Stay on top of our insights and updates. Stay connected with Ariva Academy. You can join Ariva Academy's Facebook group. You can also like Ariva Academy's Facebook page. Follow Ariva Academy in LinkedIn. And visit our website www.ariva.com.ph. And I am inviting everyone to be a part of the growing Ariva Academy Viber community. You can scan this QR code that will bring you instantly inside our Ariva Academy Viber community. So see you all there. Now, for those of you who might have missed the free live webinars that we've had in the past, starting 2020, you can all catch them in our YouTube channels. Again, catch all of them in our YouTube channels. Subscribe to these channels, Ariva Academy and Ariva Talks. Now, I'd like to invite you to some of our upcoming learning events. Here they are. BIR Computerized Accounting System. This will be on February 9 already. That is tomorrow, so join us. February 15, we have Strengthening Communication Skills at Work, how to be more assertive in a hybrid work environment. February 16, how to handle hazardous materials safely and prevent warehouse incidents. The 10th Advanced MS Excel Office Productivity Training using Excel skills for business will be on February 17 already. On February 22, Competency-Based HR Management, Essential Competencies for New Norm Human Resources Management. February 23, we have the 15th Winning Formula on Extraordinary Leadership and Team Development for Managerial Success. The Mini MBA in Retail Management, Retailing Success Strategies will be on February 24. March 2, we have another free live webinar. The topic is 23 Essential Skills of Administrative Professionals Must Have in 2023. So very timely. Again, this will be on March 2 already. March 3, the following day, we have Managing Generational Differences in the Workplace. Understanding different generations, including incoming Gen Alpha. So I'm sure you will all find this really interesting. This will be on March 3. On March 10, we have Exceptional Employee Onboarding, how to create a seamless onboarding experience in a hybrid workplace. And for those of you who are interested in inviting our speakers to conduct an in-house program exclusive for your team, you can give us a call at the number flashed on the screen or send us an email. Or for those of you who are interested in inviting our speaker, Miss Sally, to do a coaching, to do mentoring or to training, you can contact her also directly. So she can also do programs exclusive for your group, for your team, for your company. So just message her so that she can come up with a program for your team. But for other speakers, you can also let us know what you have in mind. The programs that we offer are here on the screen. Just give us a call and we'll help you partner with the right speaker under Ariva Academy Speakers Bureau for that. There you go. I mentioned a while ago that we have invited someone special. And right now, let me introduce her. She is Ariva Academy's partner speaker. You will be hearing her this coming March for a free live webinar. But right now, she's also AXA Philippines partner consultant. So let us welcome Ms. Daphne Granfield. Hi, Ms. Daph.
Nice to see you all again. I was intently really listening to the discussion we have with Sally, and I honor you, Sally, because you made me I think clarify why I'm here today for just a few minutes. Okay, so with this, I'd like to share you my screen. You know, I said I was asking myself, what is my value for being here right now? I think it's clarity. I think everybody needs to be clear in why they do what they do. And the legacy is actually, it's right now what I'm doing. Okay. This is a 5-minute presentation because at the end of the day, I do speak for the past 30 years, but right now I'm doing a legacy to also make sure that the Philippines know how to not just handle their money, but to maximize their value. So I understand that this is all about making the organization effective. But at the end of the day, we also believe that it starts with your personal effectiveness. Okay, so with this is just very quick. I am with AXA Philippines, and we're sending the message and giving the voice, especially for Philippines, because we're not very keen to protecting or at least growing what we have until now. And it's true that we can already perform the legacy, what we can do, and what I'm doing right now, hopefully, can also inspire you to share the word, okay, that there are other things that we do in life. In fact, if you also would agree with me, we are more than the work we do. Alam natin yan, di ba? Alam natin that we have families, we have other things we want to do, not just at the work and the organization. Of course, the organization is there to develop you as better individuals and as probably family leaders. Okay, and those who are not yet with their families, I'm sure you have those thoughts that, hey, I want to have my own family, do this and do that. So lahat naman po tayo, we are beyond the work we do every day. Although I also was looking at the list kanina yung sa mga challenges for the middle managers, because it's true, it's if you are in a sandwich generation, you might also be in a sandwich work right now with two opposing forces that you need to service every day, you know, and stress is really very strong in your end. Okay, now, anyways, there are goals in life aside from being good at what you do. I'm pretty sure you have them listed during the new year kung gumawa kayo ng inyong tinatawag na New Year resolution. But I want you to understand that all of us wanted to put there the goal that we are being rewarded with. You agree? No? Rewarding ang goal. Kaya lang sa likod ng goal, laging may risk yan. And apparently in 2020, the pandemic has showed us also that even the risk, they also evolve, nagbabago. Until now, we are moving on to the post-pandemic, okay? Hindi pa naman talaga totally wala. We just brave ourselves to do this again. That's why we are all here and learning back strongly. So with this awareness, I'd like to ask you, if you are able to reach the goal already, do you find yourself effective? Yes or no? You can chat 1 if yes, 2 if no. What do you think? If you have reached your goal, do you find yourself effective as an individual? Okay. You can type 1 if yes, 2 if no, quickly. Of course, oh, ayan, tinype talaga nila YES. True. Okay, I agree with you. Okay. And this is one goal I'm moving right now. It's beyond what I do as a speaker, because at the end of the day, the legacy I want to leave is for humanity. Now we're looking back and talking about Generation Alpha na pala ito. Okay, so I am from Gen X, nasa Gen Alpha na pala tayo. Anyways, another question I'd like to raise. Okay, if in case that you find that, yes, I am effective, I've reached my goal. Now, if in case, okay, that you are to protect the goal, do you find yourself still effective? Because in life, we know that not all goals can happen, yes? In life, not all can happen. For some reasons, controllable man yan or uncontrollable. All these things can change right in front of your eyes. And that happened, proven, when COVID came here in 2020. So we are still in the VUCA times. Okay, we are still in the volatile, okay, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous moments in our lives, especially nararamdaman niya ng mga middle managers. So what we are saying here now, these are the characteristics of being effective. It's not just you are able to get the goal, but you are also to protect yourself on driving the goal. Okay? Otherwise, sinong gagawa? Who will move them? Okay? Now, my question now, to make it more simple for you about the worth in numbers. Do you know your economic life value? Because right now you are, of course, working, so you are earning, okay, you're generating income. I'll teach you. Bring out your phones quickly. Bring out the phones. Okay, tignan natin ang economic life value. Bakit may economic life value? Of course, when it's like in the business, if you lose one person, you have to replace, there's an economic impact, correct? Okay, so kayo din may value, ganun ang value. Okay, so how do we do it quickly? Okay, your monthly income. Punta tayo, calculator, monthly income. Kahit na anong income, either from the work or if you have a business or part-time, okay, this is gross income. Times 12 to get the annual. Natuwa ka ba sa annual mo? O gusto mong magdasal tayo, Joe? Okay, anyway, times 12. Then that amount times 10. Okay, brave souls who would like to share, if you can share on the chat box, how much is your economic life value? I'll explain to you what it means. Magkano ang lumabas? Okay, yun pala yun. How do you feel when you saw that's your eco-life value? Million ba? Million ba ang lumabas? Yes or no? Type 1, if yes. If no, type 2. Million ba ang lumabas? Ayan, milyonaryo pala tayo. Yun pala ang value natin. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Meaning to say, I'm speaking to the breadwinner in this room. If you are the breadwinner, imagine the loss of the family. Okay, if something happens to you, despite of all your plans, we are facing everyday risk. Okay, so my question to you is, managers, how do you also top manage your life value with your family? Now, it's not just about life. Okay, here's the thing, Filipinos, I am from an insurance industry and I'd like to correct your awareness with insurance, please. Okay, before kayo maniwala sa mga colleagues, nagbebenta lang yung insurance yan, etc., would you mind taking time to be aware what's happening in the industry right now? Because risks are evolving. So definitely, we also evolve solutions. Okay? As a manager, it is your job to get more awareness so you can manage your career and more importantly, your family life. Okay, so if now you know your economic value, what's next? Okay, look at this one. I'm here to tell you that there is a way to maximize your value as you work, because at the end of the day, through time, we know that we are strong as our ages. We know we are strong as time and our days. That's written in the Bible, ha? Okay, that's already a fact. So if you look at the ages here, it talks about for 40 years lang tayo nag-i-income generate. 40 years. Good if you still have career after 60. Okay, you can still maximize your income generation, okay, activity. But just for the young ones, you have more time, but it doesn't mean that you don't start preparing. I'm happy that there are a lot already of younger generations seeing this through. Okay, but for some in the Philippines, marami na po tayong kwento na paano na kami portion if the breadwinner is lost. Okay, so we know that it's easy to be effective and do things if we worry less. And one thing for that, preparation is always the key. Okay, and please take note that not all are already insurable. In your companies, okay, there are things that we also balance the rewards and risk, okay, to make the journey worth living, especially in working. Okay, so with that, you can come to me and ask questions. Don't worry, walang masamang magtanong. Walang masamang mag-aral. Ano na ba ang nangyayari sa mga kapaligiran natin? Wala pong masama. Please connect with me so I can answer your questions, because I am continually partnering with AXA Philippines and we are licensed here. So meaning to say we have studied and continually study the risk every day. So you may have gotten already your plans, pero ang tanong ko sa inyo, alam nyo ba kung saan kayo protected? Because typically, hindi alam kung saan sila protected. That's really a challenge for some of us. So I'm here to help you. Also from AXA, we hope to redefine your lifestyle standards. With that, thank you so much, Kate. Thank you so much, Ariva. And congratulations, Miss Sally.
Thank you so much, Miss Sally. That was very helpful. I'm sure all of our participants really appreciate what you shared. So thank you so much, and I will be seeing you.
Stay well, everyone.
Very soon. Thank you. Okay, everyone. I know we're done with our break time, and now we are going to open the floor for questions. So let's again welcome our speaker, Sally.
Thank you, Kate.
There you go. So for those of you who have questions, you can click the raise hand button or type your questions here in the chat box. But for those of you who are shy, if ever there's one here who's shy, you can send your message directly to me, send it to me privately. When I read your question, I won't be reading your name, just in case you're shy. Okay, so let me check the chat box. I know some of you already sent messages a while ago while we were on break, so let me just go back to that. Here goes. There's a message that was sent to me privately. Here's the question.
Okay.
Sally, how should I react when your authority as a leader is being questioned as manipulative?
Oh, start with the tough one. It is a tough one, isn't it? That is a really tough situation. So first and foremost, I feel for you. Okay. That there's going to be, this is one of those situations where there's probably a lot more context to know about, but we don't have time. And there'll be a strategy that will work today, but it won't work tomorrow. And the strategy that has never worked for the last 3 weeks might be the strategy that works next week. So with that in mind, I just want to say, start with empathy. Notice that I did that when I started to answer the question. Start with empathy. Now, I imagine you hearing that and thinking, but they're so manipulative. Why would I want to have any empathy for them? Stay with me, okay? I want you to think about what's below the surface for this person. If they're manipulating you in their external behavior, that's their expression. What are their values? What are their pressures, their stresses? What is going on under the surface that you can't see that might be forcing that behavior to you? Okay. First and foremost, start there. If you know them quite well, then you might be able to guess some of those things. It might be that they're stressed. It might be that they feel as though they're missing out on opportunities. It might feel as though they could do your job better. Who knows? There could be a whole range of reasons, but just start there to think about and remember the behavior you see is driven by a lot of elements under the surface, their values, their stresses, their demands, their successes, their failures, their fears, all these things come into play. So that's that as a starting point. The second part to that, I would recommend, and it's very gentle, it takes a lot of courage, but instead of talking about, say, for example, you're talking about a project and they start questioning your authority about the project, then stop talking about the project and actually say, could we please talk about the way in which we communicate? When you speak to me, what I hear is a consistent challenging of my leadership. Is there something that we need to communicate and try and resolve so that you and I are a team together? Yeah. So instead of trying to push back on the project and the work and every other issue that you talk about, you need to actually address the behavior that they're bringing. Not easy, very challenging. And here's the thing. After doing that, they still might not really change their behavior, because you cannot change someone else. It is their choice to change. What you can do is change how you react and respond to them. And one of the things you could do is also just push through that and actually say, look, I'm making the decision. I'm in the position where I have to make a decision on this, and I'm deciding to do it this way. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the input and the suggestions, and I've had to take on a lot of information, and I'm making this decision. I would like you to now do the work. And you're polite, but you're direct. And oftentimes we hear the word direct in communication and we think it's being rude. And that's not what this is about. It's about being clear in what you need. And one of the things that I talked about this in the presentation very briefly is about why. Why do you need that work done? What is the inspiring outcome that you're looking for? Okay. If it's a trust issue, if that's what it comes down to, take some time to get to know the person. And I know that can be really challenging when they grate on you and they've been really manipulative. I get it. That's difficult to do. But if you can find ways to actually learn to know who that person really is, that will give you a lot of information about how you can communicate in a way that they respond positively. We've got to remember to communicate for the person in front of us. Really critical. Just a few ideas. I don't know the whole story. That's a tough one. I hope that helps. That was a big one.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that helped. We have another question. Here goes. How do middle managers navigate between managing highly demanding superiors and equally exacting subordinates?
So let's start with the managers. When you talk about demanding, I'd be curious to know a little bit more about whether you mean, are they micromanaging you? Or are they just giving you a lot of work? Or, yeah, there's a little bit more questions in my head about that question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an assumption, and hopefully this helps anyway. Okay. So if you've got a demanding senior leader and they just keep giving you work, here's another thing, here's another thing, here's another thing. And the stack of things just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So one of the things that I did, and I did this in my past when I was a middle manager, is I actually went to my leader and said, this is the experience I'm having. We've got a lot of important work to do and all of it needs doing. However, each time I interact with you, I get a new thing to do. And so I would really appreciate 30 minutes, sit down. I want to put the list in front of you. And could you help me prioritize what you see is the most urgent and important to focus on? And then when you're in that meeting and you present the list, what can happen, I can't promise you, but what can happen is that senior leader might realize, oh goodness, look at what I've done to you. Hopefully they will, but either if they don't even realize that, they should, and it's their job to help you prioritize the list. Okay. So let's face it, the work will never stop. You've always got work to do, which is a good thing because it means you've got a job. It means you're employed. So never look at a to-do list as a bad thing, but ask them to help you prioritize, because you want to, and you can phrase it in ways such as, I really want to understand from your perspective the most important elements. I really want to get a handle on this and do a great job. So I would like to take some time to make sure I'm working in the right priority that you see this work should be done. Yeah. And be respectful. It's 30 minutes and you get in there and you put the list in front of them. And then exacting employees. So I would say help them to prioritize their work and ask them to be even more specific about the help that they need from you. And if they're exacting, I'm not sure what that question means, actually. I don't want to, I'm not too sure how to interpret that. If you're still here and can tell me a little bit more about what you mean by an exacting employee, because part of me thinks that's good, but I don't know if I'm interpreting it the right way.
I think when they're saying exacting employees, I think they're talking about someone who's taking too much from them already.
The employee's taking too much from the manager.
Yes.
Well, as a manager, then help them. You're getting pressure from above. What should you be doing? Helping them prioritize. Yeah. It's exactly that's the exact same process, but you're now the senior leader. So help that person to prioritize. They may not realize that the 17 things you've been giving them over the last month actually don't all have the same priority. Now I'm being cheeky on purpose here, but do you get what I mean? So time with them to say, let's look at what your current workload is like. Show me what you're working on. Show me what you see as the priority. And then you can help them and you can negotiate with them. Look, we don't need to work on that right now. Yes, it's important, but actually this is what's coming up in the organization. So I need you to do on this one and this one. These 2 or 3 are more important right now. So do to your employee, your direct report, exactly what you want from your senior leader.
Wow, thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I have another question here. Here's another one. How do you manage your subordinates when there are no clear paths to promotion within your division? You know, they are performing great for years already, but there are no assurance from higher management for a possible promotion, even when you already lobbied for it.
Yes, that's a challenging one, isn't it? And lots of organizations are structured where there aren't really clear career pathways for sure. So one of the things that I think would be really valuable is, rather than talking about a job or a role that isn't going to come for a long time, or you have no idea when it's coming, start talking about skills. Start having conversations with these direct reports about, okay, look, we don't know when jobs are going to be available. So let's not waste time focusing on what we don't know. How about, what skills do you think we need for the future of our workplace? Let's work on that. And then you as a middle manager, remember I talked about collaborate with your peers? Start talking with the managers left and right of you and saying to them, you know, what are you doing about this issue? Could we sit down and have a conversation around something that we could collaborate on, that maybe our teams could work together on building some skills ready for when the jobs come? You know, be job ready. You know, maybe there's an opportunity in that when senior leaders see that the skill level of the frontline and the operational team is actually lifting because you've uplifted them, and you've uplifted them in collaboration with your peers, then the senior leaders may start thinking, ooh, we've got to grow this organization. We need to put on more roles. Ooh, hope that helps.
Okay. Thank you so much for that answer. I'm seeing some of our participants are saying, thank you, Ma'am Sally, so inspiring. That's great advice. Wow, thank you for the feedback toward your participants. Here's another question. How should we deal with biased supervisors who is not contented with not supporting but also bad mouthing their direct report?
Yeah, I've been in a situation where many years ago, I was living in the Middle East and my boss came into the area I was working in and started to do that bad mouth. They started talking about another employee in a really terrible, derogatory way. And I said to the boss, his name is Michael, and I said to him, look, I can see that this upsets you, this situation has upset you, but I don't know how I can help you. And I'm not having the same experience you are. And I also feel uncomfortable talking about someone when they're not in the room to be part of the conversation. Now, I understand this is speaking to a boss, saying that to a boss, and that can be quite challenging. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to take a deep breath and say, don't talk to me about this, but it's how you say it that's really important. And I think one of the things is you could basically also be a little bit more subtle with it and don't agree with anything. Sometimes we get caught up with wanting to just nod or make noises because we're trapped with this person. Is that fair to say, that we can feel trapped and we just nod and agree? And yes, so avoid doing that. Avoid making any body language or any noises that may be interpreted as you agreeing. Be as neutral as you can be. And when you get an opportunity in the conversation, when they've had a pause in their talking, you could say, I'm really sorry, but I need to actually make a phone call right now. I'm really sorry, but you need to look at your watch or your phone and say, I actually need to make a work phone call right now. Yeah. And excuse yourself. Be very, very mindful, be aware, be self-aware of what your body language is and what noises you might be making. You might be nodding and not even realizing it. And the other person is thinking, oh, they agree with me. It's very tricky. You've got lots of tricky questions for me, Miss Kate. Lots of tricky questions.
They're all coming from our participants. I think it's really coming from their experience.
Yeah.
And I am really, really sure that they are finding your answers really helpful
Oh,
to
my
their
pleasure.
situations.
And please reach out to me. I'm happy to continue the conversation. I know we've only got a few minutes left. There's a question in the chat box. Why is it important to deal professionally with negative coworkers? Oh, I think the answer is actually in the question there, Rebecca, because you don't want to be labeled unprofessional. If they're negative, let them be negative. Sometimes it can be really challenging, and I understand that, but I want you to imagine you're going to put on your Teflon overcoat. You know, like Teflon frying pans where the eggs don't stick? Yeah, you're going to put that Teflon overcoat on and you're going to wrap it up, do it up, tie the wrap up, pull it tight, and you're going to protect yourself from their negativity. And you can say, that's not my experience. I'm sorry you're experiencing it that way. Yeah. This is not easy. And I really do get that. And I do get that. But if you start listening and being pulled into their negativity, if you get drawn into the gossiping and the backstabbing and the talking behind backs, then people are going to think that you're being unprofessional and that you're participating in it too. So do your best to, even if it's, for example, if you're online, because, let's face it, thank you, COVID, very much. We're all online, and you're having a Teams meeting and you haven't started the meeting yet, and a few people start chatting about someone, you can go on mute and take your camera off. Because that's our way of demonstrating that you're not part of that conversation. And so when you just watch and wait for that conversation to finish, you come on camera again, smiling and professional, and come off mute. And if someone says, oh, what have you been talking about? I don't know. I had to step away for a moment. And that sends a message to the others that you don't want to be part of that conversation. Is that helpful, Rebecca? I hope so.
I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. So
Okay,
to our
great.
participants, that is how not to be a marites. Okay, take note of that. Okay, thank you for that. We have a few more questions. I think last two questions. We're down to our last two questions because of time constraint. Here's another one. How to not lose focus on a goal while ensuring employee engagement?
Oh, the very fast, quick answer to that is to communicate and express more, and to express and inspire through sharing the why. Now, talking about things that you hope are good is great, but hope with action is even better. So, for example, I've been giving you some actions and some ideas and saying, I hope that helps. That's action and hope. For you, talking about, I am so inspired by how this will look when we've achieved it. Remember, our goal is to get to here. Imagine how we're going to feel when we've achieved it. Yeah. If we stay on course and we achieve this goal, we get to celebrate that success. So you as a leader, this is one of the things that I think is really interesting, is that we don't talk about the why very often. And if you've heard of Simon Sinek in his famous book, Start With Why, if you haven't read that, that is probably the #1 book I would put on your book list right now. Start With Why by Simon Sinek. If you like listening to books, it's a great Audible book, one of the best books, because when we start with why, we actually start getting that emotional connection, and people then stay on track and stay engaged with it. You know yourself, if you've got children and you tell them to do something, and what do they say? Why? Yeah. Why? And then they don't stop until they get the answer they want. Why? But mum, but dad, why? Now, I don't have children, but I have lots of nieces and nephews, and I've seen the why, the relentless why of a child. Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's curiosity. It's how they meant to be. Now, as adults, we learn that we probably cannot behave that way. It's probably not appropriate, but the why is still there. Why do I have to do this? Why are we made to do this? Why do I have to do it that way? Why are they asking me to do this? That still goes on. Your job as the leader is to consistently and constantly remind them of that. We don't communicate that nearly enough. Hope that helps. Yeah. Oh, I've got a message. I've got one here, if that's okay. It was a direct message.
Oh, sure.
Will it be appropriate to confront workmates directly without backbiting acts where you don't have any proof of such act, where you just informed by concerned workmates? Will it be appropriate to confront workmates directly about backbiting acts where you don't have any proof of such an act, where you just informed by concerned workmates? If I understand the question, I think it might be worth removing yourself from that if you don't have any authority. If you're not their leader, then stay out of that. And if someone says, look, I'm really worried about this person, then if you're not their leader, then you can say back to them, well, have you told them? You need to go tell them. That's your business to tell them that. If you're the leader, now here's the interesting thing, because in Australia, where I am, there's actually rules and regulations around this. So I'm not too sure where you are, what rules and regulations apply. But what can happen, and this has happened in Australia a few times, someone's come to the leader and said, this person's talking about this person and I'm really worried about them. You know, I don't want to do anything about it. Or someone's come to the leader and said, look, I don't want you to do anything about it, but that person's really been backbiting me. Well, you have to actually do something about it, because if you don't, and it gets worse, you can get into trouble for not having acted. So just check with your human resources policies and procedures, depending on what your level of authority is in the organization, and get their help. But if you don't have authority, you're equal in workmates, push it back, respectfully push it back and say, look, I think you need to deal with that. I'm not firsthand to this, so I need you to deal with it. And I'm happy to help you work a way to deal with it, but I don't want to be part of that. Yeah. I'm hoping that makes sense.
It did. Thank you so much for that. And that ends our question and answer portion. Thank you so much, Miss Sally, for being very generous with your insights, with your answers. And I am sure all of our participants really appreciate it. Because of that, we'd like to present you with this certificate. Let me read this. Ariva Academy, learning development at its finest, gratefully presents this certificate of appreciation to Sally Foley-Lewis for generously sharing her professional expertise, invaluable knowledge, and wisdom to the delegates of the value of mid-level management, how to empower middle management to drive organizational success, held on February 8, 2023 via Zoom platform. Signed by Chairman and Chief Strategist Learning Event Producer J.M. Matienzo and President of Chief Learning and Development Strategist Michelle Irish Valoras. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for our speaker, Miss Sally. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate having you here with us this afternoon. We are truly, truly grateful. Now, before we call it a day, we'd love to have a group photo with you and all of our participants. So, to everyone, let's turn on our cameras. It's not every day we get to have a group photo with the very beautiful Sally. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
There you go, there you go. And I'll be asking the assistance of our technical director, Eric. Can you assist us, please?
Yes, thank you so much, Miss Kate. So good day, everyone. So we have 2 shots of group picture for this PM session. Okay, you ready for the first shot, guys? Come on. Can we do 2 thumbs up? Yes, how about 2 thumbs up? Come on, guys. Okay, here we go. 2 thumbs up in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and for our second shot, can we do a hand hearts? Hand hearts or finger hearts? Yes. Show me some love, guys. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Yes, thanks so much. Back to you, Miss Kate.
Thank you so much, Eric. Again, Miss Sally, thank you, and we're looking forward to having you again in the near future. Thank you so much. And in behalf of everyone from Ariva Academy, I'd like to say thank you to all of our participants for being with us this afternoon. We are also very grateful for the questions you asked because we learned a lot from you as well. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you again in our future learning events. Thank you. Maraming salamat. God bless you all, everyone. Keep safe. God bless you.